It is my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. So we've got Philippa Miller joining us and talking about teaching science, and Philippa is the coordinator of the Young Scientist Awards scheme from some of the winners that you've just seen present their research with us. She's been involved in the Science Teachers Association of New South Wales for the last 25 years and closely involved in the development of the current science and technology syllabus. So will you please join me in welcoming to the stage Philippa Miller.
Thank you so much. It's a very hard act to follow. Dr. Carl and those 4 students were quite amazing. I'm just going to grab my laptop because it's got my notes on it. To suddenly quick charge up just as I was going. So now it'll take me a couple of seconds to just log back in. All right, just before I start, I'd like to acknowledge, if I can get the slides up, acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and the Burra-Borongal people of the Darug Nation, the Bidjigal people of the Camaragal people upon the ancestral lands the university stands. And we recognise the strength, resilience and capacity of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples and acknowledge their continuing connection to land, waters and cultures. And we certainly know, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, about we're finding out more and more about Indigenous knowledges, and particularly in the science field. I forget I've got the clicker. All right, a little bit about me. This is a high school I went to in the US when I was 17. I turned 18 while I was there. I was an exchange student. And the reason I'm putting this up, and I'll tell you a little bit more about myself as I go along, but this is a school. It's called West Branch High School. It's in Ohio. Deep in the heart of conservative USA, very church orientated. I had a great year. It did take me a while to get into the swing of it, I suppose. Everything was focused around the school. There was a lot of sport that we played, and the school was a real hub. And the reason I've put that up is I've connected with some of those people I went to school with through Facebook in the last year. So I did lose touch a little bit with the family that looked after me for a year, but since the advent of Facebook, I've connected with a lot of those people. I'll just let you read that. I hope you can all read it. So this is attributed to Neil deGrasse Tyson. How sad it is that we're not believing scientists or scholars, we're believing a reality TV star. Now, a lot of those people that I went to school with in the US are avid Trump supporters. And I lurk a little bit on Facebook. I don't post a lot, but it's been quite fascinating following. A lot of them don't, there's a few of them post things and repost conspiracy theories, and I know that, and that's why I was slightly thrilled to think that Dr. Carl's trying to create something that might be able to, some sort of bot that might be able to start re-educating these people, but the amount of misinformation that they have, nothing that I can say to them or nothing that I will post will convince them otherwise. That kind of got me talking, and this idea that you're skeptics, you're playing a key role in intelligent public discourse. Well, that seems to have gone somewhat AWOL in those people that I went to school with in the US. So I'll just go a little bit further into the background of what I do. So I've just recently retired, which is rather nice. But before that, I was a teacher for about 40 years. I first became involved with the Young Scientist organisation when I was a teacher at MLC School, and that was probably about 25 years ago. I taught there for a very long time, and then I became a consultant. So I worked for an organisation called the Association of Independent Schools in New South Wales, and I would go into schools and give professional development to teachers. That was my role. And I first started that role when the government gave a lot of funding around STEM. So I would go into schools and give professional learning around science, technology, and it was kind of when STEM became the buzzword. So that's what I did, but on the side I've always been involved with the Science Teachers Association as well and the Young Scientist. And so what I'm going to do today is just give you a little bit of a background about science teaching, particularly in New South Wales. I know you're not all from New South Wales, but that's the area that I'm familiar with. And just a little bit about what we do as a Young Scientist organisation. You might not know it, but you give us quite a bit of money, for which we're very grateful. So I guess this is payback time. Just let you have a little bit of a look at that graph. This comes from ACARA. This is the number of students that are taking maths and science. So you can see from this science, there's a slightly higher proportion of females. This was 2022 was the latest data I could find. So this is 2022 science enrolments in school, slightly more females than males. But if you look at maths, slightly more high percentage of males enrolled in maths than females. Possibly due to the state of our mathematics education. We know that girls want to study subjects that have kind of meaning for them. Unless they can see the purpose of why they're studying something, they're less likely to study it. There's been a number of studies that show that. And sadly for girls, the purpose of maths is not made obvious to them, and we do, I'm sure you all know that maths is a really important part of our lives. So hopefully the changes in the curriculum that I'll talk a little bit about might encourage our girls to study maths more. This is in figures for New South Wales. So 42% of our students in New South Wales, so I'm going to put that down, are enrolled in at least one HSC science course. So I found that reasonably encouraging. So that's about 33,000 students. The highest proportion are enrolled in biology, and about close to 20,000 in biology. This is New South Wales, and about close to 10,000 in chemistry. Sadly, of course, the numbers are still dropping for students studying sciences, but I guess a good part is that a number of the STEM enrolments, girls are increasing. They've increased the number of percentage of girls studying STEM subjects has increased from 2013 to 2022. Very small though, 45 to 47%. So hasn't gone down, so I guess that's a positive, but it also hasn't gone up a huge amount. So I suppose the point of my talk is that what are we doing in New South Wales to try and avoid what's happened to my friends in the US? Is it something in our science teaching and our maths teaching and our teaching overall that has caused and I know we certainly have conspiracy theorists in Australia, but we have, seems to be a higher proportion in certain parts of the US. So there's a few changes also have been happening in schooling in New South Wales to the science syllabus. I worked for the Association of Independent Schools for 8 years, and during that time I worked with 2 science syllabuses and consulted for the 3rd. So there's been a lot of changes in the technology, the syllabuses for New South Wales, and the same has also happened in other states as well. This is the New South Wales K-6 science syllabus. Nice to see that they're trying to get students to spark curiosity, and I know we've talked a lot about curiosity today. This is the focus areas of what our students need to do. The rationale is to encourage students to learn, observe, develop testable questions, test and evaluate their ideas and refine their understandings. And I think you can see from those students this morning, they did a pretty good job of doing that. The aim, of course, is to develop scientific and technological knowledge, skills, practices and dispositions. So pretty lofty aims for our science syllabus, but hopefully that's what we can achieve. There's also new 7 to 10 science syllabuses being developed. Once again, curiosity takes a big step forward, and I think that's what we're trying to encourage in our Science Teachers Association with our award scheme, that whole idea about curiosity. But also in 7 to 10, we're wanting our students to make ethical, evidence-based decisions. So this is what the aims of the syllabus are, to develop these ethical, evidence-based decision-making occur with all our students so that they can become scientifically literate. The 11 and 12 syllabuses are in development. The drafts are out now for consultation, and again the new drafts for stage 6. So writing new biology, chemistry, earth and environmental science and physics syllabuses. And we also have life skills science. So for those students who would not be able to access the high levels of science, they have other courses known as life skills. So in each of those 4 disciplines, there's also life skills. I'm not going to explain this side, but it's just really to show that data science is becoming more important in our syllabus. That whole idea of data analysis, using models, claims and data at scale. So that's something that's coming into the 7 to 10 syllabus. So hopefully that will help teach our students to make evidence-based decisions. One of the things which I'm quite encouraged by in the new syllabus is the fact that scientific writing is taking place. So it's become compulsory to do scientific writing. A lot of teachers would encourage their students to write in science as well, but generally we assumed that writing happened in English. Not so anymore. Writing is going to be a huge component of all the other syllabuses as well, not just science. Another important part of the new syllabus is Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives. I do quite like this quote. I know there's a little bit of controversy around Bruce Pascoe, but what I like about this is throughout history, humans have looked to the night sky to help explain their existence, but the conclusions people draw from the same sky can be remarkably different. European astronomy used constellation of stars to tell a story, but sometimes Aboriginal Australians use the darkness between stars. So the dark emu is a shape in the dark areas between the Milky Way. So looking at the dark space rather than the sky. So just sometimes looking at those Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander perspectives is a different way of looking, a different way of seeing. So, Young Scientist Award. What are we? Who are you giving money to? This is us. This is our website. You can Google us if you wish. We've just developed a new website. Hopefully it's up and going. It wasn't sort of earlier in the week. But we are an organisation that's a group within the Science Teachers Association of New South Wales. We're all volunteers. So the Science Teachers Association of New South Wales has paid employees, but anyone involved with Young Scientist is a volunteer. We're all teachers or ex-teachers. We have academics as well, university academics. You'd all be welcome to come and join us and to Mark and to we love people to come and join our organisation. So I'll explain what we do. But first of all, I just wanted to point out things like this is Cathy Foley, who's Australia's chief scientist. She once won an award at the Australian Young Scientist awards way back in the day. I think it was a slightly different name then, actually. But when she was at primary school, she won an award. And you can see with our little students today, like Hamish and Romilly, who are still at primary school, what they might go on to achieve. So what is the Young Scientist Award Scheme? So we have two components to the award scheme, scientific investigations and technological innovations. Now those technological innovations can be digital or non-digital. So there's two parts to the scheme, and students create their own investigations, as you saw examples of those this morning, and they enter into our competition. We have about 700 students enter each year. Some of those are in groups, what it does mean is that we have to mark an awful lot of projects. The scientific investigations, as you saw this morning, the students go through the working scientifically process, observing, questioning, predicting, planning, conducting, processing information and analysing data, problem solving, communicating. So we have resources on our website to help support teachers to do this, because a lot of our teachers, particularly in primary schools, are not particularly confident with science. So we're also, as well as encouraging a platform for students, we're also trying to encourage teachers as well. Pushing the right button. Nothing seems to be happening. Yep, okay, there we go. Now I'll probably rush through about 4. So students send in their entries. We mark them on a rubric. So this is just a sample of the rubric. We give them in various parts of their project, different skills, and then we give them an overall grade, a 5, 4, 3, 2, or a 1. We seldom get 1s, but we do sometimes. So that's a K to 6 one. Where am I pointing? And this is an example. So this is a more holistic rubric that we use for our 7 to 10s, and we also have a separate one for older students. Technological innovations. In primary school, the syllabus is science and technology. It's not just science. In high school it's science, but in primary school it's science and technology. So we encourage that whole idea of identifying a need or a problem, generating ideas and research, planning an innovative device, constructing a model, producing a solution or prototype, and then testing and evaluating. So that's the process that the students go through. We give out a number of awards. So in each age group for K to 6, there's 6 scientific investigations. Romilly and Hamish won those last evening, so our big ceremony was last night. The Primary Young Scientist of the Year turned out this year to be Hamish. I didn't know who it was going to be, so I was quite lucky that I picked him to come and present this morning. We also do a Rural Young Scientist, quite coincidentally. Both the Primary Young Scientist and Rural Young Scientist were from rural areas this year. We also have a Budding Young Scientist from our K to 2s. Romilly, I think, probably scooped up the pool each time she entered in K to 2. She's a remarkable young scientist. She will go home now and she starts developing her project for next year. We also give ARNet sponsor us, and we have technology awards. They give out maths awards. The Physics Association also gives some prizes for physics. We have an environment award, and we also have encouragement awards. In secondary, we give prizes 1st, 2nd and 3rd in each age group for biology, chemistry, earth and environment and physics, and the same goes with technological innovations. And we have a Young Scientist of the Year award as well. So last night, the Young Scientist of the Award went to a young man from Barker, and his was actually a technological innovation around helping people sleep. And we do struggle to get a diversity of entries in our award scheme, which is why we're also sponsored by an organisation called Passionately Curious, who sponsor our Rural Young Scientist of the Year awards. After students have entered into our competition, there's also a national competition, which is quite a recent, it's only been going 2 or 3 years. It's called iCubed, and iCubed also runs a sort of level of competition. You've got to come through the home state, so each state runs their own equivalent. I think in Victoria, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, they're all very similar, and they send entries off to ASTA, and for the iCubed, and again they will often get prizes related to that as well. If you wanted to Google that, you can also find the past awards that the students have come across. New South Wales tends to do quite well in these, which is lovely. There's also a Teachers Award, so that teachers can be recognised. There's a Rural Teachers Award and award for a teacher from all around Australia, and one for a teacher from a metropolitan area generally as well. So I guess this is just a very quick overview of what the Young Scientist organisation does, a little bit of background about science teaching in New South Wales and the changes that are coming in, and what we're trying to do to encourage students to be sceptical, to question, and to be curious. And thank you very much for sponsoring us. So if you do have any questions, more than happy to answer those. Oh, we also have just started a science journal, so we're going to, a youth journal. This is the Australian Science Teachers Association have literally launched it last night, so that we can encourage students to publish and be mentored to publish their articles to a high standard. Thank you.
Many years ago, I was on the committee of the Sydney City Skywatchers, and we were deeply concerned that to study astronomy under the New South Wales system, there was really only a short window of about 12 weeks available in the school year syllabus and so on and so forth to actually study astronomy as a HSC topic or something like that. And we came up with a scheme of assembling a suitcase of astronomy books, which was then sent out to various, mostly regional schools, on the basis that it would provide a library that was transferable, that they would probably not be able to finance themselves at each and every school. Is something like that, for example, a skeptics library or a food technology library, something that your organisation could coordinate and distribute around schools to assist inquiring minds to be able to resource up on information so that they can then apply that to scientific curiosity?
That sounds like a great idea, and probably is the answer. We don't have access. It's very hard to access schools, because we don't necessarily have email addresses of schools and things like that. But certainly it is something that we could establish with help, because of course we're a membership-based, not-for-profit organisation. So, but any resources that can be provided, gratefully accepted. And I think a scheme like that, I know the department schools sometimes do things like that. It's not something as a science teachers organisation we've done before, but it's certainly something worth considering. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. All right, I think that's probably it. So
no, it's not.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, it's not. I'm up here at the back.
Okay, sorry.
The links between music and maths have been known for a long time.
Yes.
I understand that the sciences, you've got so much to think of and to get together. There's so many different branches. That takes all your time. But as a musician, I also know that the arts were in the similar state, but we also know the links are all there. So when we're always talking about STEM, what about STEAM? Do you now see it as being STEAM?
Yeah, no, STEAM was certainly a big part, science, arts and maths. And the creative arts curriculum has been rewritten as well, and music is a strong part of that. Again, particularly, high schools, it's a lot easier for that arts education. Primary teachers, not necessarily specialists in music, but hopefully these new syllabuses will make it a lot easier for teachers to incorporate, and we certainly do encourage that. One big part of the Year 2 curriculum is sound, and so teachers can use a lot of music involved in that. So, good point.
Well, thank you. Yes, I developed a course called Rocket Science for Kids, which I've been teaching at primary level for
Of course, kids love
now.
rockets, and they also love astronomy.
Yeah, and that's based on my past career in aerospace engineering. So I'd like some way to expand that to perhaps reach a larger audience or online or something. So any ideas would be appreciated.
Certainly. Perhaps be in touch with the science teachers. I can, I'll grab your details. Thank you.
We've got some reasonably positive numbers that 40-odd% of people do science at school. How do we, and speaking from experience, maybe bitter experience, is that a lot of people do science at high school or maybe even university, and then they don't seem to, they lose that critical thinking faculty when they walk out. How do we stop that happening?
Well, hopefully Dr. Carl's app might help. It's a really good question, and I'll do another doc say, I don't know. Yeah, really, really difficult. And I think the impact of social media on our younger generation and even our older generation makes it a lot more difficult for that to happen. So, yeah, that's probably one of the life's big questions. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to answer that one. Sorry. All right, thank you so much.